Hi and welcome to Outwell and to the Montana 6E from our Deluxe collection. This is a tunnel designed family tent that can sleep up to 6 people with bedrooms at the back and a large living space at the front, which we'll show you in detail just shortly. First of all though, with it being in our Deluxe collection, the fly sheet that we're using on here is our Outex 4000. This is a taffeta polyester material, so it's very durable and long lasting. It's been fully PU coated on the inside and it has fully taped seams as well to ensure that it is completely waterproof with a hydrostatic head of 4,000 millimeters. The frame that we use on here is actually a hybrid frame, so we have a couple of poles that are made up of our Duratec fiberglass, one at the front here and then one across the back at the bedroom. And then the main body of the tent is made up of these steel poles, which makes it very strong and solid and rigid even in high wind conditions. Pitch in the tent should be a doddle because what we do is colour code the sleeves, which you can just see here at the front, and then going back, they're all colour coded to make sure that you're going to get the right pole in the right place. Now, some other features, we have some large ventilation panels on the side here, and on the other side, and on the back of the tent as well. And then underneath there, you'll find that we have mesh panels. So if it gets a little bit too chilly, we can take these away just simply by getting rid of the Velcro tabs and pushing down on the ventilation panel itself. Some other nice features then, we're using our wind stabilizer system around the tent here as well. It's just adding to the rigidity of the tent. In fact, this has been tested to withstand a force 9 gale. And we'll just show you how these work. So when you're setting the tent up, what we do is we simply wrap these around the frame and secure it into place like this. You find there's one at the top and at the bottom of all the poles, all the way around the tent. And this is where we attach our guy lines. We take the guy lines out, then we peg them into position. What happens is these tabs pull the fabric against the frame of the tent, making the whole thing much more taut and therefore much more stable. As I say, allowing us to test this tent to withstand a force 9 gale on the Beaufort scale. Some other nice features then, we have plenty of reflective points all the way around the tent. So at night time, if you've got a head torch or a handheld torch, you'll see these nice and easily. Hopefully you'll also see our guy lines, as these are all luminous throughout as well, so hopefully you won't trip over them quite as easily. Each guy line has its own retainer. It comes pre-attached, but when you pack it down, what you can do is just wrap the guy line up in your hand and pop it into this loop here, so that the next time you come to use the tent, these are going to be easily accessible. Something else we supply with the Montana 6E is our easy pegging system. This is where we have 3 different types of peg that come with the tent. So we have the solid steel pegs here, which are for the corners of the tent. These will be pegged in through the grey pegging points. We have the black plastic pegs here for all of the black pegging points around the side of the tent. And then we also have our luminous peg here to go with the luminous guy lines, just to ensure that you're going to get the right peg in the right place. Just behind me here, we have a full rain-safe entrance, which is going to be a great entrance to use if it's a little bit wet, because obviously what we have here, as I say, is a full rain-safe entrance. So any water falling down the way isn't going to get into your tent. It's going to keep that well protected. This also has a detachable ground sheet, which we can show you in a little bit more detail when we get inside the tent. Coming around the front, we will find that we have this really handy canopy on here, again, just giving you good shelter at the front of the tent here. So if it's a little bit drizzly, then this is going to protect that front door. The front door itself is of a really good size. It's nice and wide, so getting all of your camping gear in and out of the tent is going to be really simple and easy because, yeah, you've got a lot of space to do so. It's also full walk-in height as well. I'm quite tall, and I can walk in and out of this tent, no problem at all. I don't have to sort of duck to get into it at all. You'll also find that at the front of the tent here, we have a full mesh door, which is just rolled away at the moment. And what that allows for is great ventilation within the tent. Now at the beginning of the clip I mentioned the name of this tent, which is the Montana 6E, and I'm sure you've been wondering this whole time what the E stands for. Well, let me tell you, it's for our extended canopy system. So just on this door here we have an extended canopy, and we'll show you now exactly how that works. So with the tent we supply you with 2 upright steel poles, just like these ones here, and also a couple of guy lines to be used to fix the door into this sort of canopy position. Now the extended canopy system actually just involves this piece of material that's already attached to the door, and all we have to do is simply just unzip this down the sides, and we can change this position either to come straight down here just to give you a little bit more shade or shelter, or we can also have it going out the front as a double length extended canopy. So here you can see that what we have created is a good sheltered and private area. Now, with the use of 2 additional upright poles and 2 guy lines, we can now take this piece of material out, as I said earlier on, to create a double length extended canopy. So stepping back into the tent, one thing that's quite obvious in here is just how much living space you have. Certainly plenty of head height as well. I'm quite tall, as I mentioned before, at 6'3", and I have plenty of room above my head here. And around us, there's lots of space for furniture and storage and things like that as well, accentuated by the large windows that we mentioned earlier on. If, however, you don't want quite as much light coming into the tent, or if you want a little bit more privacy, then what we can do here is just take the curtains, which are all rolled away at the moment, and we can either bring them halfway up the window just by toggling them into position, or obviously we can bring these fully up as well. Above the window, you'll just see here the mesh ventilation that I mentioned from the outside. So just at the top of the tent here, you'll find that we have a lantern hanging point in a good central location. And then coming away from that, we have these cable tidies which will run down to where our cable entry point is. So that's just what this little zip at the bottom here is. So what that allows you to do is just run your electrics into your tent without having to have the door open at any point here, so you can still have that mesh door closed over. In here, as I mentioned earlier on, is where we have the detachable ground sheet for the porch area. So again, this is bathtub in style as well. But then in the tent itself, we have our main ground sheet. So from front to back and side to side, this is fully sealed. And it's also bathtub in style, so it's coming up at the edges. So you're getting no drafts coming into the tent. You're going to get no dirt and dust and sand and things like that. And hopefully, more importantly, you're going to keep out those unwanted creepy crawlies too. In terms of ventilation, there's quite a lot to the tent actually, because this side and this side both have doors, and these all have mesh doors as well. So what you can do is just drop down that mesh door and roll up the outside, just to give you great ventilation within the tent. So at the back of the tent is where you find the bedrooms, and as I mentioned earlier, the tent sleeps up to 6 people. A really nice feature here is that these bedrooms come pre-attached, so when it comes to setting up the tent for the first time, you don't need to worry about doing this, they're already in place. How we attach the bedrooms to the fly sheet is using our wave-shaped hanging point system on here. So this is this mesh across the top here. So it's not just there for good looks and design, it does have a function as well in that it takes any stress off of that top seam of the bedroom. Some other features to highlight then, we have some pockets on the outside of the bedroom. The bedroom doors themselves have got mesh panels again for good ventilation. When we go into the bedrooms, you'll find there's more ventilation across the back, which corresponds to the panels on the fly sheet. Down in the corner, you'll find that we have some handy storage pockets. And then what you will also find is that the bedrooms are separated with this zipped sheet here, so we can open this up completely to make one large bedroom, or have it as we have here, where you can split it in 2. What we also have is our universal bedroom, so this is where we have these zips in between here, so you can just see now how this works. So we have a few optional extras available for the Montana 6E, and that would include the fleece carpet that you can see for the living area here. There's also a footprint available to go under the tent, so when it comes to taking the tent down, your ground sheet is going to be clean and dry. We then have a front extension for the tent. We also have a front awning for the tent for those who want even more living space or storage space. So that's all of the features and all of the optional extras for our Montana 6E from our Deluxe collection. Thanks very much for watching.